This is a simple practice connecting the 4 key elements of breath, sound, movement and touch. I'd recommend trying this one standing, or if standing is difficult for sustained periods, you can move between sitting and standing. And try to really let yourself go with this one. Don't worry about how you look or how you sound. There's nobody there to see or hear or judge you. And there's no one way that this ought to look. And I'd encourage you to experiment with your eyes open or closed. But if you're standing and moving with closed eyes, do take care with your balance. So start by finding yourself somewhere without any obstacles in your way, somewhere where you can be comfortable. And inviting you to begin by noticing your breath. Just noticing it naturally as it enters your body and as it leaves your body. It doesn't matter whether you're breathing through your nose or your mouth, but just notice the sensations of the air as it comes in and as it flows back out, without needing to change anything about it, but just noticing how your breath feels in this moment. And then inviting you to start making the breath a little deeper, sending the breath into your belly, expanding the diaphragm, deepening your breath down towards your pelvis, starting to connect your breath with your pelvis, with your pelvic region. So you might notice that your belly rises more deeply and fills more deeply as you send the air down towards your pelvis. And keeping your breath connected with your pelvis, start to make your in-breath and your out-breath equal lengths without any pause or gap at either end. So a kind of circular breath. And it doesn't matter what speed your breath is, the important thing is to make your in-breath and your out-breath equal length without any pause or gap at either end. So there's a continuous process of breath happening. And as you continue to breathe with this circular rhythm, inviting you to add a little sound, noticing what sound does your pelvis want to make as you send the breath down and up, back and forth from the pelvis to the lungs. Get curious, experiment and explore. Maybe start with a sigh, or a groan, or a growl. And use your out breath to carry the sound down towards your pelvis. And as you start to carry the sound through your breath down towards your pelvis, you might start to notice vibrations are happening in your pelvis or your abdomen. Inviting you, as you continue this circular breath in and out with equal length and no pause at either end, adding sound Taking that sound down towards your pelvis to your abdomen and noticing the sensations that you feel as you start to add sound to this part of your body. How deep into your body can you feel the vibrations? Getting curious about the sounds. What different sounds does your pelvis want to make? And you might start to notice as you begin to combine the breath and the sound down towards your pelvis, you might begin to start noticing that there's movement in your pelvis. Notice if your pelvis is starting to move naturally to the sounds you're making, to the breath you're sending to that part of your body. And if you notice natural movement happening, inviting you to follow that movement, what happens if you see where it leads? And if you're not noticing any natural movement, you might start to experiment with some small rocking movements, tilting your pelvis forward, tilting your pelvis back as the breath comes into your body, as the breath goes out of your body. Noticing how your pelvis wants to move naturally. And starting to expand and explore different kinds of movement in your pelvis. Rocking movement, tilting movement, swaying movement. Maybe even a shaking movement. Get curious about bringing movement to this part of your body. What happens if you make your movements faster or slower or bigger or smaller? Bringing a curiosity to how this part of your body moves naturally. You may notice that some movements feel less enjoyable, so inviting you to follow what feels good in your pelvis. And continuing the breath in and out of your body. Continuing to include sound, vibrations, moaning, sighing, groaning, growling, combining the movement, the breath, and the sound with a focus on this area of your pelvis. And remembering there's no right or wrong, and inviting you to follow what feels interesting, enjoyable, bringing your curiosity to this exploration of your pelvis with movement and breath and sound. And as you continue to explore movement, breath, sound into your pelvis, inviting you also to connect your hands with your pelvis. So just placing your hands without moving them to begin with on your pelvis. Notice how it feels to feel your pelvis moving, feeling the bones, feeling the muscles, feeling the skin against your hands as your pelvis moves. And then start to move your hands very slowly around your pelvic region. And noticing the sensation in your hands as you touch. What do your hands feel? What do you notice in your hands as you start to move them very slowly around your pelvis, including movements, including breath, including sound, and also now including touch. And you might want to start expanding your touch to include your hips or your bottom or your genitals or your stomach or your thighs. Bringing your curiosity and using your hands as if they're feeling this anatomy for the first time. So inviting you to keep your focus of awareness in your hands for the moment, noticing the shapes in this part of your body, noticing the textures, noticing the temperatures. So noticing what your hands are feeling as you explore your pelvis, both your front body and your back body in this pelvic region, including movement, including sound, including breath. And now inviting you to shift your focus of awareness from the sensation in your hands to the skin that's being touched by your hands. So starting to notice, how do different parts of your pelvic area feel when they get touched? You might notice different sensations in different areas. You might notice pressure in some places or tickling in others. You might notice that some areas in your pelvic region might feel more enjoyable to be touched. You might enjoy being touched more in some places than others. So starting to notice, how do your thighs want to be touched? Or how does your bottom want to be touched? Or how do your genitals want to be touched? And what happens if you follow those impulses for how those different parts of your pelvic region want to be touched? Remembering your breath, sending your breath down to your pelvic region, including sounds, noticing what sounds arise naturally as you touch different parts of this part of your body. Including movement as you explore your pelvis with touch. And inviting you to start expanding your exploration. So letting the movement from your pelvis spread a bit further into your body. Maybe up into your rib cage or down towards your knees. Following it through your spine, into your legs, your ankles, your feet, or upwards into your shoulders, your neck, your head. And letting your touch move wherever else in your body it wants to go, so it might follow the movement. Or your touch might move in a very different direction to the movement. There's no right or wrong. Following your impulses for how your body wants to move in this moment right now. Following your impulses for where your body wants touch in this moment right now. Noticing if there are sounds that want to arise naturally from the movement, from the touch. And if you don't notice any natural sounds, you might try experimenting with making some. See how that changes your experience of the touch, of the movement. You could start with a sigh on your out-breath. Noticing the vibrations in your body as you include sound. Maybe experimenting with increasing the volume of the sound or the length of the sound. Exploring moans. Exploring different pitches of sound. What happens if you hum? What happens if you take a hum right up into your head or right down into your feet? Noticing what feels pleasurable in your body as you explore with touch and breath and movement and sound. Following what feels pleasurable. Focusing on what feels enjoyable, following that, seeing where that leads. Does that feel familiar? Does it feel surprising or unfamiliar? Noticing your breath. How does your breath change as you explore in different ways? You might notice your breath changing as you change the kind of movement. If your movement gets faster or slower, how does that change your breath? Noticing what you're feeling. You might be feeling sensations from the movement, from the touch, from the vibrations of sound. You might be feeling emotion. Bringing your awareness and your noticing to all these different parts of your experience as you move your body, as you touch your body, as you make sound with and through your body, and as you breathe in and out of your body. Bringing a curiosity to follow what feels pleasurable in this moment. There's no right or wrong. Seeing how far you can follow yourself into a freedom of pleasure, freedom of movement, freedom of sound, freedom of breath, freedom of touch. What happens if you let go of any judgments, any shame, and follow what feels enjoyable for you in this moment right now? taking a couple of more minutes to really follow your enjoyment. Moving as much as you want, making as much sound as you want, taking as much breath into your body as you want, and touching yourself wherever you want, however you want. This experience is for you, nobody else. For your pleasure, for your enjoyment. And as we start to move towards the close of the active part of this practice, inviting you to begin to very gradually slow your movement down. So continuing to move, continuing to touch, gradually slowing the speed of your movement, the speed of your touch down, until you reach a point of stillness. And then when you reach a point of stillness, inviting you to take 3 deep breaths, exhaling each one with a sigh. So breathing right into the belly and exhaling with a sigh. And then for the next 4 or 5 minutes, finding a place where you can sit or lie without movement, relaxed, with no need to do anything or achieve anything or even notice anything. Just taking some time to integrate, for your body to integrate the experiences that you've had. So let them land in your body. And I'll let you know when it's time to bring this to a close. This is an opportunity to just be in your body without having to do anything. Allowing your body to absorb whatever you've experienced in the practice. And for that experience to integrate into your body. For a few more minutes. And as we move towards the close of this practice now, inviting you to notice the feel of your body on whatever you're sitting or lying on. You might notice that there are sounds around you. You might notice the light quality if your eyes are closed, inviting you to gently open them and start to bring yourself back very gently into the space where you are. You might want to look around you and orient yourself. And as we close this practice, inviting you to take some time to reflect on what you noticed in your experience. And if it's useful, you can consider these questions. What felt enjoyable? What surprised you? And what would you like to explore further another time?